Hello everyone, Canyon here. I'm back again, hanging out in my music room, listening to some sweet tunes, and enjoying the sweet smell of fucking sugar cookies. And we're gonna do what we do on this channel, and we're going to talk about some records. And this time we're going to sort of make our way through the discography of possibly my favorite band. And I've got no idea why this video has started out this way, but I never know what to say at the beginning of these videos, so I think I'm gonna let it stick. So basically what we're doing today, I think we're just gonna run through the cattle decapitation stuff. It's not nearly as much as like the last video, so if I get through these and it hasn't been a very long time, I'll probably just add some extra bands onto the end, because as of right now, the next video is going to be stacked with really good shit. So I could either extend that or shorten it a bit. It doesn't matter. I guess I'm just going to see how this video goes, and we'll go from there. In the background, we have this Cruel Commando album playing. I don't remember getting this CD ever. I mean, I might have even played it in a video before, because I must not have had it for that long, but honest to fucking God, I can't remember getting this CD. And when I was going through my CDs and trying to find something to play for this video, I literally saw it and was like, what? I know I must not have had it for that long, so it's a bit of a mystery to me. Yeah. Anyway, let's do it. The very first 12-inch that Cattle Decapitation ever put out was an EP from 1999 by the title of Human Jerky, which is this right here, of course. So this is a very different Cattle Decapitation than the Cattle Decapitation that we know in 2018. This is back when it was literally a grind band, because I think that this album EP, I think it's like 19 minutes long. It's either 19 or 23 or something like that. I get this one in Homovore mixed up. But either way, there are 18 songs on this. So you can imagine that, the songs are very short, they're very fast and aggressive. And again, it's a very different Cattle Decapitation than the Cattle Decapitation we know now. And of course, this features a very different lineup as well, but we'll talk about that. So I love this album cover. I think it very well representative of what this band represents. It's gross. Of course, there's like the fucking cow head. I mean, it fits so well as an album cover. And plus, I love that it's just it's a real picture. There's no band logo or anything like that. I've said it before, I really like when bands do that shit. So this is a great album cover. Fucking hell. There's the back cover right there. Back then there was only 3 band members. Travis Ryan is the only member of this band who is still around, but there are no original members of Cattle Decapitation left in 2018. Actually, I think the last original member of Cattle Decapitation was Dave Astor, and he left a long time ago, so Cattle Decapitation is a completely different band these days. I like the back cover. Some of the song titles on this one are fucking great, man. Gestation of Smegma is probably my favorite. Clone for Carry On, Mad Cow Conspiracy, Veal and the Cult of Torture, Stench from the Dumpster, Bovine Swine and Human Rinds, Bludgeon, Beaten, and Barbecued. Really fucking cool, man. And this is, of course, this is the first press that was put out on Satan's Pimp. Now, there were 2 versions of the first press of this. There was the yellow version, which I think was limited to like 100 copies. It's super fucking hard to get your hands on. But then there was just the black vinyl, and I actually really like the very simple labels on this. 45 RPM. Oh my god. God damn it, I'm not even drunk this time. Fuck. So, 45 RPM. It's very kind of thin, flimsy vinyl, and it does have a lyric sheet. Or I guess it's an inner sleeve, rather. There's the band right there. Travis Ryan's got long hair. Then you got Dave Astor and Gabe Serbian. And Gabe Serbian was another original member of the band. From what I remember, I think he might have been the vocalist of the very earliest releases, maybe. But I'm not sure. I actually have 3 versions of this one. So the second press of this one was a picture disc. And the picture disc, of course, it's the same thing, just as a picture disc. This one was limited to 1,500 copies. There's the back right there. I have number 172 out of 1,500. This was put out on Accident Prone. I don't exactly remember when this version came out, though. The first press of this one, that black vinyl I showed you, was also limited to 1,500 copies, if anybody was wondering. And then I have the third press, which is identical. The only difference between the first press and the third press is that this one's glossy, where the first one was matte, also put out on Satan's Pimp. This one right here is put on red vinyl with identical labels, which is quite cool. But I have a sad story about this one. So when I got it, of course you have, like, you know, the mailer, and then it's got where it opens right there and it's taped up, right? It was a really thick box, so I thought there was something else in there besides just this record. So I put the fucking knife on the tape and slid it across, and I fucking slid the knife right across the goddamn cover of this thing. For some reason there was another empty box in it, and it was just laying on top of it with nothing protecting it. So really fucking strange decision, but you can see I'm gonna make this fucking work, goddammit. So I don't know if you can tell, but all the fucking way along right there, I dragged a fucking knife across the cover, man. And this was actually the first version of this one that I ever owned, so I was fucking bummed. And I think that might be the big reason I went back and got the first press of this one. I'm not really too much into grind myself, but I've got a soft spot for everything Cattle Decapitation's done, so fantastic EP, man. That's Human Jerky. The very next year, in 2000, we got the very first full-length album from Cattle Decapitation, and that's an album by the name Homovore. For some reason, this album rarely gets mentioned when talking about Cattle Decapitation albums, and I think that's just because this album was not put out through Metal Blade. I don't think I've ever seen this before, but it's just kind of like a little catalog sheet for 3.1G, which is cool. Yeah, I guess this is just kind of not mentioned with the Cattle Decapitation albums because, you know, because it's not a Metal Blade album. And I remember when the Decade of Decapitation album, and I remember when the Decade of Decapitation box came out, you know, there were people who you'd see talk about it, and they'd say, it includes all the Cattle Decapitation albums. And no, because Homovore is a full-length album. It's just a pre-Metal Blade album, and this is a lot more in the vein of what Human Jerky sounds like, because the songs are short, man. There's 24 songs on this thing, and I think this one is like 19, 20 minutes long or something like that. So, I mean, the songs are super fucking short, but there are good songs on here, and you can definitely tell that they are moving in the direction they were heading into to serve man on this one. Songs like Diarrhea of the Mouth, which is actually my personal favorite on here, Joined at the Ass, Bathing in a Grease Disposal Unit, Molested, Digested, Ride 'em Cowboy, Release the Gimp, Pepe's Trepes, which I'm not sure how the fuck you say that, but that was also on that Decapitation 7-inch. Yeah, man, some cool song titles on this one. I don't like the album cover quite as much on this one, but you can see it's kind of like a cow's head in like a human digestive system. I mean, that's kind of what I've always assumed that it is, but you can look and it looks like what would be like an intestine. It literally looks like cloth. So I don't know, man. It's really interesting. And maybe somebody else has some more insight, but I really like the album cover, just not as much as Human Jerky. The back is really fucking cool, and I'm gonna make sure it focuses for this, because that's a great fucking picture, man. Because it's kind of like the Human Jerky one. It's a dead cow head, but it's in like a bed of pretty flowers, which is cool. And I really like the Cattle Decapitation logo up there. Because this was before they had an actual logo. At the time, this pretty much was the logo. But this is really fucking cool, man. I love the gatefold on these. So you open it up and it's like a fucking dead pig. It's like cut in half and hanging by a hook. Yeah, exactly the super gory imagery that Cattle Decapitation is known for. Limited to 1,500 copies again, and it comes on this really nice cow print vinyl, which is cool. So obviously black and white swirl. It's got a very mismatched label, but I kind of like it. And this one also includes a inner sleeve with all of the lyrics and of course the band members, and these are the same three band members that played on Human Jerky. Now quickly, I'm going to show you the other version of this. This one is in a little bit better condition than the first press, and this was actually one of the very first records I ever owned. It was the second Cattle Decapitation record that I ever owned, but I mean, literally this is completely identical to the first press, as is the inner sleeve. The only difference is the color of the vinyl, which this is called Diarrhea of the Mouth vinyl, which looks like this, and this is limited to 666 copies, which is kind of not really Cattle Decapitation's thing, but you know, whatever. I think it's really fucking nice looking. So a great debut album, but definitely doesn't really say much to where Cattle Decapitation has come, because this is a very different band. But yeah, fantastic shit, man. Homovore. Alright, moving on to the first album that really gets credited as being a Cattle Decapitation full-length album. And that is, of course, this one. This is To Serve Man from 2002. So this is the first press of this one. You can tell right off the bat because this has the parental advisory label there. And, of course, this is sort of the debut of the Cattle Decapitation logo. Which, this is my favorite logo this band has ever had. The logo that they changed it to, I think they did it, I think the first time we saw it was on the Harvest floor. It kind of looks like this. It's just these are kind of more extended up in different directions, but it's kind of the same. But this one's got one of my favorite album covers ever. And this one was mentioned in my video of my favorite album covers. Super fucking gross, but also has a really kind of creepy quality to it with all the legs hanging in the background. This is kind of a bridge between sounds for this band, because this isn't exactly just grindcore like it used to be, but it's certainly not the sort of melodic, progressive death grind that the band has turned into later on. And there's a few albums in between this and the sort of start of that. But this album kind of has a sort of Carcassy feel to it, like earlier Carcass, maybe like Symphonies of Sickness Carcass. And maybe it's not overly apparent or anything like that. That's just kind of what I get from it. It sort of has the same feeling. But this one, again, has got some great songs on it. The song Testicular Manslaughter is one of Cattle Decapitation's most popular songs that aren't on the last two albums. Besides that, Everyone Deserves to Die is on here. Long Pig Chef and the Hairless Goat is one of the better songs on here, along with Dead Meal and Chunk Blower. So this was sort of put out through Metal Blade and Deep Six Records. And it's got a great fucking back cover as well. This one's got a printed inner sleeve here, and you can see the lineup has changed big time between this and Homovore just a couple years earlier. Because again, the only people who are still in the band are Dave and Travis. And of course you have the debut of Josh Elmore there, who is still in the band to this day. And this guy right here, Troy, I think he did all the way up to the Harvest floor, which I'll see soon, but if not, Canyon, post-Canyon, editing Canyon. But it's cool. It still has like the band correspondence, email address and shit like that. All the lyrics on that side, and you can see the Cattle Decapitation logo sort of superimposed in the background. This one's got some super fucking nasty lyrics on it as well. Which I guess you'd probably sort of expect for something like this. The first press of this was put on green vinyl, which is perfect. But I love the labels on this one, man. Side A is just a fork, and side B is a fork and a knife. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you this, but on the dead wax there's an etching that says save room for something special. And on this side, it says it's time to upgrade. So I don't know what the fuck that's about, but it's kind of cool. So in 2014, there was this big reissue campaign that Cattle Decapitation did that they called Decade of Decapitation. It came in a big box set. Here, let me show you. This is what the box set looks like right here. It's really fucking thick, which I think is kind of dumb because it doesn't need to be. Like, because if you look at it, it looks like it should have like a lid. Maybe this just kind of slides onto the bottom part there, but it just kind of opens like this. I don't know why. I feel like they should have just made it kind of like maybe one of those death box sets or something like that. But a really cool cover. I like the sort of like newspaper things that are sort of referencing songs from most of the albums. Yeah, you got all the song titles from all 5 of the albums that they did here. And again, they did all of the Metal Blade albums, so Homovore wasn't included. They started the campaign with To Serve Man. And they were doing them on, you know, all sorts of different like splatter color vinyl, and they were doing them with gatefolds, and it was really nice. And man, even though I already had the original, I was fucking stoked when I heard that this was happening, because there was all sorts of other things that were coming with it. You know, there was like new shirts and shit like that, so it was really cool. But yeah, so basically this is the repress, the very first repress. And the layout is different, of course. So there's the back right there. Of course, you don't have the parental advisory. I don't know why the fuck you'd need it in the first place. But you can see the back there is obviously very different, this being the first press right here. So yeah, kind of a very different layout. And this one, like I said, is a gatefold, so you got all the lyrics and the picture of the band right there. And you have the sort of face behind the picture of the band. But this one doesn't come with any like posters or anything like that. The European versions did. I have no idea why the American versions did not. But the American version of this, and I don't remember offhand if this was the only version of this one. I know in Europe there was a few different versions you could choose from, but here in America, I think it might have been this and maybe black vinyl. But this is the Long Pig Slaughter vinyl. So obviously pink with pink splatter. Really fucking cool. Love that label right there. But even more, I think I like this label with just the fucking Cattle Decapitation logo on it. It sort of matches the splatter. Really fucking cool. And that's actually side A right there. But yeah, man, I don't know where I'd rank this on a list of my favorite Cattle Decapitation albums, but I'd say it's probably somewhere in the middle. This is where you'd probably start if you're more of a grind fan than like a sort of death metal fan. But this shit's fantastic, so to serve, man. Moving right along, man. I think a lot of you guys who know me probably know this already, but Humanure here is my favorite album of all time. So I think right about now, half of you are like, obviously, and the other half of you are probably like, what the fuck? Because I know a lot of you probably watch these videos that I make and you see a lot of black metal and stuff like that, but the black metal thing came a little bit later for me. This album came out in 2004 and I didn't hear it right when it came out or anything like that. I heard it a few years later. But I think that this for me is the best album ever. It has such a perfect mixture of Cattle Decapitation sort of moving away from the grind thing and into a more nasty like death metal sound, while also maintaining lo-fi production, some of the best vocals of all time, some of the best lyrics of all time, some of the most interesting songwriting for me in all of extreme metal. Some of the best song titles are on here, like Bukkake Tsunami is on here, Reduced to Paste, Chummified is on this one, Applied Human to Fragmentation, Lips and Assholes, Polyps. So this is the first press of this one, of course. Again, Metal Blade and Deep Six Records. There's the back right there. The front cover is one of the fucking nastiest album covers of all time, man. Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, even the fucking font they used for Humanure is just fucking gross. A great logo. Just fucking nasty, man. The back cover is very simple, but it has all these song titles. And they've been doing it for a long time, but they kind of put the song titles in regular font as well as in like pretty cursive behind it, which is cool. The gatefold for the first press looks like this. I like the sort of, almost like film reels of just like nasty images, including shit from the band members and stuff like that, which is quite cool. There's a shot of the band on the inside, and you can see Homeboy on the end either just came from church or didn't get the memo. But yeah, fantastic shit, man. I don't really know how to talk about this album because of how much I love it. First press of this came with a inner sheet, black and white, all the lyrics. Now there were there was one version of the first press, but there was like a mispress version where one of the records was like brown. I don't have that. Back when I was trying to get all the Cattle Decapitation stuff, I kind of wanted it, but you know, whatever. It was literally just a mispress. But so the first press, fucking hell, I grabbed the wrong one. But the intention for the first press was for all copies to be on this really fucking nasty, like, orange vinyl. So one of the gripes I've always had with the vinyl presses of Humanure, at least in the United States, I don't know if the versions that came in the European versions of the Decade of Decapitation box, I don't think that those were double LP, but these were, and I think everybody knows, but they made a whole fucking second record for the outro, which is literally like an ambient outro. So, I mean, really the album it doesn't gain anything by having the outro, especially not on a separate record, but there is an etching on the second record of like humans with the bash around it. You can kind of see it, but it's done really shitty. But of course I do have the 2014 repress of this one, which you can tell, I mean, the jacket looks a lot fucking newer. But yeah, the layout is pretty much identical. And even the inside is identical. The lyrics do come on a black and white lyric sheet, but again, it's glossy. It looks a bit newer. And the vinyl itself, again, they did a double LP. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. But these were pressed on brown vinyl with red splatter. And this version was called Bloody Stool. And the etching on this one is a lot better. Obviously, it's just done professionally. The one in the last one, if you couldn't see, there was just a bunch of these sort of around the record. But yeah, very cool. Yeah, man, it's definitely hard to talk about. My favorite song on here, oh god, fuck. My favorite songs on here, I would say there's a block of 4 in a row. Because Chummified, Applied Human Defragmentation, The Earthling, and Polyps are pretty much unbeatable. But, I mean, really, you could go all the way through this thing. Reduced to Paste and Bukkake Tsunami are kind of hard to beat as well as Lips and Assholes and Humanure. It's fucking, this album is literally a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. Yeah, hard to beat, man. Humanure. Alright, moving on here. This is kind of when I came into Cattle Decapitation right here. Was around 2007 or 8. Of course, this album came out in 2006, and this is kind of widely considered the least impressive Cattle Decapitation full-length album. And that is, of course, this one, Karma.Bloody.Karma. In theory, this album should be better than Humanure, because it is a perfect sort of bridge between the sound of Humanure and the Harvest Floor, which are two of, obviously, my favorite Cattle Decapitation records. But for some reason, this one just doesn't work very well. I can only think that the problem is in the songwriting itself, because it sounds good, the vocals are great, the lyrics are great. I don't know, man. It is an anomaly to me why this album is just, for some reason, noticeably weaker. But all of that being said, there are some really good songs in here. My favorite song on here is Suspended in Coprolite. Either that or Total Gore, which I think might be the fan favorite on this one. The Carcass Derrick is a great song. Alone at the Landfill, which I think would be a lot cooler if it didn't have that really long outro with, you know, when he just kind of repeats hideous, shameless, toxic, and goddamn desolate, which it just repeats over and over again. I think that song's like 8 minutes long or something. And it really doesn't need to be. But besides that, Unintelligent Design is a good song. Success is Hanging by the Neck. 1000 Times Decapitation. Yeah, man, I mean, none of the songs on here are bad. None of them are even really boring. For some reason, this album is just not very memorable. I don't know. I can't explain it. But this is the first press of this one. This is kind of one of the very first records that I ever, like, had to actually go and search out. This was the first record I ever spent more than $50 on. Because at the time, man, you couldn't find it. There was one sitting on Discogs for a while, but it was like 80 euro, and I had never bought anything from overseas at the time. So, you know, I was kind of holding off because it was expensive and shit. Then one popped up on eBay one day. It was kind of a bidding war at first, but the other guy gave up like 3 days before the auction ended. But man, I was watching the shit like a fucking hawk. But this one's got a cool album cover, I guess. It's embossed, and that's what's cool about the first press, is you can feel it. I don't know that there's any way to really show you, but you can feel the front. There's the back right there. You can feel all of this as well. It's really nice quality. There's the gatefold right there with all of the lyrics, and you got some information in the sort of Cattle Decapitation Ouroboros things at the bottom, which is cool. And this was put out through Accident Prone and Metal Blade. Now, there was only one version of this up until 2014, and that was a picture disc, which looks like this. Of course, that's just the album cover on that side. And on side B, you have a picture of the band, which is kind of cool. And this is numbered. I have number 208 out of 500. Honestly, I haven't played this version in years because I have the other version now, and I honestly have only played that a few times. But I do, of course, have the reissue as well, which obviously you can tell there's a big difference because this actually has the logo and the album title on the front there. The back is different as well. It's got the Ouroboros, but it's got all the song titles and shit. There's the inside right there, pretty much identical. And the version I got of this one, which I think was called Blood on Blood, it's like red with red splatter. Kind of a weird decision, really. But yeah, there's the same band picture that's on the side B of the picture disc right there. And the other label is a drain, which is fucking cool. Yeah, man, I don't know. This album was just kind of a weird miss for a lot of people. Me included, but the song Suspended in Coprolite is hard to beat. Alright, so 2009 rolled around and we got another Cattle Decapitation full-length album, and this is where the change happened. This is the Harvest Floor. So this basically introduced the Cattle Decapitation that we know now. I mean, when this album came out, the album cover was very different than anything this band had done. The logo was different, like I'd said before. The songs were night and day with anything they'd done before. barring some shit that's on Karma.Bloody.Karma, but this was really where they sort of honed in on that sound and perfected it. Because I would say that this is probably my second favorite Cattle Decapitation album, and one of my favorite albums of all time. So for the first 5 years of this album's existence, this was the only version of this there was, a picture disc, which of course I fucking have, and actually I had this well before the reissues happened. But of course you can see the logo is different from the past logos there. It's just sort of more extended, like I said. Yeah, I don't really need to show this very much, but I do have the reissue of this one as well. I've been wanting this to happen for a long time, man, like a proper presentation of one of the best albums ever. So of course they gave it the proper jacket, like gatefold. Really fucking cool, man. This was the one I was most excited for out of all of them, of course. Yeah, fucking great album cover. It fits the sound of this album fucking perfectly. Some of the best songs that this band has ever done is on here. The Product Alive, The Right Beneath the Rind, We Are Horrible People, the song A Body Farm, Into the Public Bath and Ecstasy, and of course Regret in the Grave. And the song Regret in the Grave, I would say We Are Horrible People, The Product Alive, it kind of introduced that sort of more clean singing that Cattle Decapitation is really loved for now. It's certainly not clean singing. I don't really know how to describe what it is, but you all know what I'm talking about. If you've made it this far in the video, you know what I'm talking about. This is what started that. Like I said, there were a couple things on Karma.Bloody.Karma that kind of hinted at that, but this is really where it kind of took over as being sort of staples on the album. And Regret in the Grave is a song, I would say, that does that better than any other song on this album. But some of the lyrics on here, some of the craziest, like the song The Right Beneath the Rind, man, the very end of that song, if you know what I'm talking about, where it's just that real fast, grindy part, it's fucking sick as fuck. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's fucking, this is another one. It's kind of hard to talk about. There's the gatefold right there. It's fucking sweet, man. I like all the pictures of the band. Here's the first album that Dave McGraw played on, and he's in the band to this day as well. And the version of this they did was really cool as well. Sort of gray with red splatter. They called this one Bloody Steel, I think. Yeah, really fucking nice. But a true turning point for this band. This album is hard to beat. Now, honestly, I don't think this band's gonna release anything now that tops this, and certainly not Humanure. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. That's the Harvest Floor, and I think we all know where we go from here. This album changed this band. This is Monolith of Inhumanity. I mean, this really did skyrocket this band into a success that they never even came close to seeing on any of the previous material. I mean, these motherfuckers blew up when this album came out. And it's largely because of those sort of melodic, cleaner vocals that they do. I mean, this band has like choruses and shit on this album, which never really existed before this one. But besides that, once this album came out, this band put out the music video for Forced Gender Reassignment, which kind of, again, boosted them into another plane of success. But when the song A Living Breathing Piece of Defecating Meat came out, that was the first single, and that, I mean, like, I had never seen so many people paying attention to this band. Then they put out Lifestalker was the single they did after that, and I mean, it was clear that this was kind of a different band. And I mean, I love this fucking album. This is one of the most nostalgic albums for me from 2012 when this album came out. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is, again, it's hard to talk about. But this shit is fantastic. Songs like Dead Set on Suicide, Forced Gender Reassignment, A Living Breathing Piece, of course. Projectile Ovulation, which has guest vocals from Mike Majewski from Devourment, which that's one of the best songs on this fucking album. Do Not Resuscitate is another one of the best. Lifestalker, Kingdom of Tyrants, Your Disposal, man. Again, a lot of these songs have like choruses and shit, so it is kind of a very different style of songwriting. But yeah, I'm not really a fan of this album cover though. I haven't been since this album came out. But this is a very fitting album cover to what this album is about. It's really fucking good, man. There's the back right there. The inside has some silly band pictures and all the lyrics. Of course, this is when Troy was no longer in the band and Derek replaced him. Derek's not in the band anymore, But yeah, great fucking lyrics, fantastic songwriting, man. So there was only one vinyl version of this for the first few years that this album existed. And I think it was called like World Landfill or something like that. But you can see just blue-green split with like white, red splatter and shit. Very fucking cool. And this was one of the first 3 records that I ever owned. And then, of course, I have the Decade of Decapitation reissue of this one, which is 100% identical. The only difference is this spine. Yeah, I mean, I'll show you the fucking, what the record looks like, because that's the main difference. And I think that this version was called Golden Landfill. I think you see it's just gold with a whole bunch of different fucking color splatter. Very fucking nice, man. Just change this fucking band, and I'm sure they're fucking grateful for it, because they're huge now. Fantastic, fantastic shit, man. Monolith of Inhumanity. Alright, finally here, we have the most recent full-length album as of right now. This is the Anthropocene Extinction. So, from what I understand, there will be another Cattle Decapitation album next year, and I think they said fall of next year. So, motherfucker, man, that's a long goddamn time. But to be perfectly honest with you, the past couple albums, I've kind of been worried that this band is moving in the wrong direction. Because I know these albums, these last 2, have really elevated this band, but I mean, they seem to be relying a little bit too much on the sort of like verse-chorus songwriting. I mean, this is literally Monolith of Inhumanity Part 2. Maybe that's not a problem for everybody, but they went as far as having very similar song structures. Like Clandestine Ways, Crocodile Rot is, I mean, you listen to Forced Gender Reassignment, those songs are laid out very similarly, and also they're both the 4th song on the album. I mean, honestly, man, you could take any song from this album and put it on Monolith of Inhumanity and you would not notice a difference. They have a sort of like interlude that sort of leads into the last song on the album, right before the last song on the album, which they did that on Monolith as well. Basically what I'm hoping doesn't happen is a Monolith of Inhumanity Part 3. I don't know, I think I've said it before, I'm kind of worried that this band is going to put out something that I'm not very fond of. And that's going to be heartbreaking when that happens. And not like I have any reason to think that, really, because this album is, again, a really fucking good Cattle Decapitation record. And I know whatever they put out next is going to be good, but I kind of feel like they're using the style of songwriting that's on Monolith as like a crutch throughout the entirety of this album. And I'm really, really hoping they just don't do it again. But yeah, anyway, on this one, my favorite song is Manufactured Extinct. The chorus in that song is fucking awesome. One of the best they've ever done. Besides that, Clandestine Ways is awesome. Circo Inhumanitas is cool. Mammals in Babylon was the 2nd single they put out after Manufactured Extinct. The Prophets of Loss and Plagueborn are both great. Not Suitable for Life is fantastic. And besides that, man, the fucking album cover is one of the best this band has ever done. Really, really fucking cool. I was over the fucking moon when I first saw this album cover and heard the first single. I was ready for this album for a long time. And when that song came out, man, it blew my fucking mind. But great album cover. You can see this is signed by all 4 of the band members who played on this album. I've met them all before this, but this was a show I saw them at in 2015. It was literally like days before I moved to Kentucky. Because I came to Kentucky and saw them again here in Louisville. Yeah, really fucking cool, man. Great album cover. There's the inside right there. I like the band pictures, like all the band members dead, which is quite cool. And again, Derek, this was the last album that he played on. I'm not really sure why he left the band, but the band sort of, when they made like the post about him leaving, it was kind of very bitter sounding. So I don't know if Derek has paid a bit too much attention to his project with Phil Anselmo, Scour. I can't imagine that was doing more for him than Cattle Decapitation was. But whatever, man. Yeah, great shit. I've had this one in a frame for a while. And it's probably going to actually go back in a frame after. I really need to get a fucking second version of that, but I don't want to be a slave to represses, you know, for everything. But the version I got of this is really fucking cool, and I don't remember what the fuck they called it. But it was 1,000 copies on this blue gold swirl. Really fucking cool, man. I don't have any records that look like this. And this is also a double LP, but I got this one out because it's got an etching. the Arbros with a guy throwing the earth into the trash. And that's very true to theme on this album, because that's what these last two albums have been. And another thing that makes this album and Monolith very similar is the fact that they're both sort of humans are ruining the earth thanks to like technology and shit. So yeah, I don't know, man. This is a great fucking album. I'm really curious to hear whatever comes next for this band, because I mean, this will always be a favorite of mine. Fantastic shit, dude. The Anthropocene Extinction. And that's it, guys. I ran you through the gamut today, dude. That's everything that Cattle Decapitation has ever put on 12-inch vinyl. I have all the 7 inches as well, which we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, great shit, man. I assume if you made it to this point, you are a fan of Cattle Decapitation, hopefully. And actually, I mean, I guess if not, I mean, I'm even more thankful, because that means you just like watching me ramble about shit you don't even care about. But that is very unlikely. So, yeah, let me know, man. What's your favorite Cattle Decapitation album? How do you feel? What's your favorite song? What do you think the next one's gonna be like? Do you have that hint of worry like I do? Are you just 100% excited? You know it's gonna be awesome. Let me know, man. Anything you want to tell me. I like to talk about it. So, thanks for sticking around. We're gonna be back real soon with another update, which I already know what I'm going to show in that update. So it's going to be good shit, so look forward to that, and we'll talk soon, guys. Later.